how would you like to achieve your first million? And today we have Daryl with us. So he is the founder of the UK branch of Succession Plus. So Daryl, tell us, what are the 5 steps to make the first million?
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
5 steps to know to make your first million. I think you need to know what your niche is. What is it that you can do better than anyone else out there? And you've got to be passionate about it. You need to know that you can do this day in, day out, because if you're going to go for your first meal, it's going to take a lot of blood, sweat and tears and sacrifices. You have to know that along with this passion, this skill of yours, that there's an identified problem that business owners see, or your target market. You need to know who your target market is. So you need to have a problem that they recognize as a problem. The problem has to be a big enough problem that they want to do something about it. They want to solve this problem, right? So there's your 3 things. They have to have a desire to fix the problem. And then that's 4 things. Then the 5th thing is, if it is already a competitive market, you need to position yourself against everyone else, and so that you stand out, so that you give people a reason to buy from you. And here's a bonus one for you, Harry. If you're going to get beyond a mill, then you've got a business that's actually sellable. You want to make sure that the business doesn't depend on you, and that way you can actually sell your business when you're ready.
And this is what we're gonna touch base, because we all want to become an entrepreneur. We want to make a million. We want to become a millionaire, but nobody thinking, right, that there is a second point to the story, because it's not about how much money you make; it's how much money you keep it, and what will be your exit. So there is a misconception of entrepreneurs, right, that uh, we start a business, yeah, and because we don't have experience and we just don't know, we have sometimes the belief that the business will last forever, that the business is gonna outlast you, right? And entrepreneurs get married to the business, because if I don't do this business, what am I gonna do with my life? So, and I'll tell you a story in this podcast. One of the person that I interview, we find out a person that being offered millions for his business, and the guy, which is very good price, and the guy doesn't want to sell it. The guy, no, this is not the offer, and everybody's asking me, sell it. They're giving you good money for it. It's time to let it go. And we find out that the person didn't want to sell it because he's thinking, well, this is a working class neighborhood. I'm gonna be the only millionaire, multimillionaire in the neighborhood. What these people gonna think about me? What I gonna do? They're not gonna want to hang out with me anymore, and I don't know anybody else. So it was a lot of in the and this happened. A lot of people talk about how to deal with failure. Nobody talks about how to deal with success. So, Dari, what challenges have you facing in that stage where the entrepreneurs, they're facing resistance to actually exit? They want to sell it, but really, um, it's a part of them that say, "Well, if I sell it, what do I do after?" So, tell us a bit more about this.
Well, let's stick with the metaphor, shall we? So entrepreneurs get married to their business, absolutely. And once you're married to your business, you're going to have babies. So sometimes the metaphor is your
Absolutely.
business is your baby. No one likes to hear that their baby's ugly, right? So sometimes a business is ugly. In other words, it's not sellable. Sometimes, well, hopefully all the times, our babies grow up and we have to let them leave home and become the successful humans in their own right without us as
Hmm.
parents. So let me get out of the gobbledygook and I'll try and make that all meaningful now. So entrepreneurs are really visionary people. These are the people that When most of the world says that can't be done, the entrepreneurs say, hold my beer, get out of the way, I'll go and do it. Right. And they're different to people who own businesses. Entrepreneurs and business owners are different beasts from what I see. A business owner is great, highly successful people, but they own a business and they're maintaining it and they're growing it steadily and they're pushing it along and they're in a competitive marketplace potentially and they're very successful and they could also, make a lot of money. But the entrepreneurs are these, I'm not going to say weirdos because I know too many of them and have too many of them as friends, but they think differently to the rest of us. And I don't think I'm an entrepreneur. I know I'm creative and I have more ideas than I should, but to be healthy. But entrepreneurs are the ones, they come up with 100 ideas a day, and there's about three good ones. And so why they don't want to leave their business is because they are attached to their business and they need to see what they're going to go on to. Once they exit their business, they need a vision of what they're going to do instead. What's going to get them out of bed in the morning? So if you want to help them to leave their business, you need to go, right, they need a new vision. They had a vision to start their business. Everyone said they can't do it. They went on and made it happen. So they need a new vision. And once they've got a new vision and they own it and they attach themselves to it, they're going to drop the old one, i.e., they'll sell the business and they'll run on and they'll take the proceeds from this business and they'll create something new, something different, something that everyone else says can't be done,
Absolutely.
whether it's turn the yacht club around or,
Mhm.
whatever it is. But it's definitely not sit on the beach drinking pina coladas.
Absolutely, yeah. You will find out that that illusion that, well, when I make the first million, I didn't even notice it. The accountant told me, yeah, and you are like, what? And then you keep going, yeah, and then you will say, oh yeah, I'm going holiday. Well, you go on holiday for a month. After a week, after 2 weeks, you're bored, and you want to come
Exactly.
back, and you want to come back to work. However, the entrepreneur need to know that what it makes financial sense is for you to start a business that you can exit it, that you can sell, and that you can sell it at the peak. And the reason for that is very simple. You see, there are people, even in this same podcast, there are people that come here that they are wired from 0 to 1, and they have several businesses that may very quickly 0 to 1 million. There are other people that have been very good, 1 million to 10 million. That is what they are really, really good. There are other people that they are good 10 million to 100 million. There are people in this podcast that specialize 100 million to a billion. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you cannot pretend as an entrepreneur or as a business owner that in all those phases of the business, um, you going to be the best in all these skills. That doesn't mean, okay, if you want to be for the whole ride, that's okay. But you do need to be able to learn and unlearn, learn and unlearn, learn and unlearn, because in each phases of this growth, different players are coming, different dynamics is coming, and maybe you like the dynamic to have your own business and to have 10 employees, but maybe when you have 150, 200 employees and a big building, well, maybe it's overwhelming for you. Maybe somebody else had to take care. Maybe you need to exit. You need to do a merge. You have to be in a acquisition. However, what is key is that when people start to do the business, they have to be aware that you're building it to exit, that you're building it for 5, 10 years, and you have to put the process in place. For example, that you described that there are some business that they are not sellable. Yeah, I know which ones are not sellable. This business that only depend of the owner. That all the problems, if the owner make the business about itself, well, it's a big problem. I have a cousin, yeah, look at it, and he's telling me very proud, I'm telling no to clients. He have a refurbishment company in UK, and he's telling me, Harry, you won't believe I'm telling no to clients. They need to wait for me because I have so many projects that they wait for me, and some of them I'm telling them no. And I'm telling to my cousin, listen, I know that you're telling me very for me to be proud of you, but let me tell you something. The more you work on your business, you devalue that business. Number one, you don't say no to clients. And number two, you go in and you want to be involved personally in every development that you're doing, which
Yeah.
is restricting you. So you every day that you go and you work with your team along themselves that you think that make them happy and whatever, you are devaluing yourself, you're devaluing that company. And and he was a bit confused with what I tell him. So, Derek, what is the difference, and can a business that is not sellable can be turned into sellable?
Oh, for sure. And look, why are businesses not sellable? Sometimes it's, as you say, they are highly dependent on the owners or the shareholders because they're the best salespeople in the business or they're the best at delivery in the business. If it's a service business, it's all about them. And as you said, the more they work in the business, the less it's worth. So how do you make a business like that sellable? Well, you've got to gradually extract yourself from the business. And again, we'll go back to that earlier metaphor. If they're married to the business, they feel highly attached to the business. There's an emotional attachment, like a marriage. It's highly emotional. So it's easy for an advisor to say, "Hey, look, you need to make your business, owner dependent." It's really easy to say, but it's hard to do. So instead of just going, "You got to get yourself out of the business," let's break it down into 5 smaller exits. The first exit is you've got to get yourself off the tools, off the front line doing all of the work, and get yourself into a management position. So if you've got £1 million business or you've got a £5 million business, that's a significant business with, you've got a number of people in the business at this stage. So you need a leadership structure and you've got a hierarchy of leaders now. So the first exit is off the tools and into a management layer. So you're now either a delivery manager, not a delivery person. The next exit is to get yourself out of the functional responsibility and into the CEO role or the head role. So now you're running the business and your direct relationships are with the managers. So you've had 2 exits now already, and you're still in the business from a day-to-day basis, but now you're running it, and all you're doing is you're setting the vision, you're managing the culture and leading the culture, and you're coaching, you're not playing. You're doing all of the strategy work for the business. Then you can have another exit where you get out of the day-to-day of the business and you sit on the board and you have a board-only role and you're the chairman of the board. Now, because you've set the business up, you've systemized it, you've got structures in place, you've got workflows in place, and you've got, most importantly, really good quality monitoring systems in place. You can now run this business by remote control. It's like, you got a remote control and you're running the business, you're sitting back. Now, you can't distance yourself too much from the business because if you look absent, the business will run away from home, to stick with our metaphor. So we don't want that to happen. So we need to just touch the business every now and then in our chairman role. So now I've operated out of any of my employee style roles. I'm now in a control only role on the board. And then my final exit is when I sell my shares and I get off the board and I sell my shares and I've fully exited my business. So how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And you can do it gradually and gradually, reduce that separation anxiety, if you like, just a little bit at a time and make it manageable. And you do it over several years and you hand the business over to the next layer or the next custodians of the business. And you've left a legacy in that scenario.
But then on the other hand, there are a lot of businesses that they are very sellable. Yeah. And
Yeah.
we find out that it's a very common problem that the parents build a business, a very successful business, and now they are getting old. They want to retire, and now the kid doesn't want the business. They don't care about the business, and unfortunately, most of these business they die. They close with clients, with clients for so many years with a database. Something that is easy, very easy to acquire. I actually there are people that come to this podcast that this is what they do. They constantly are looking for those businesses
Yeah.
where they people want
I
we are in
can.
this situation, yeah.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
what is not fair is that sometimes they offer very little money for it, right?
Well,
Because
it's worth.
they only didn't prepare for the exit, and now they need to live for the wait. So they're gonna close it anyway. So they're better off selling a ship, which is a shame because they didn't prepare to exit. It's all the life work, but because they didn't prepare to exit, and they're maybe relying, oh, my kids, my children are gonna run the business, and probably your kids might own your business, but maybe they're not the most suitable people to run it, right?
I agree with you 100%. And what you're describing is all of these situations that are happening because people haven't done any planning. No one's out there told business owners and entrepreneurs that if you want to get the most from your life's work, if you want to maximize the valuation of your business and you want to exit on your terms, you got to put some preparations in place. And that's training the kids up. If you think
100%. Nobody's talking about this. Nobody talks about this. Nobody tells to entrepreneurs about this. No, nobody's talking about this. So tell
well,
us a
here
little
we
bit
are.
more about this. Yeah,
Let's start
we
talking
are
about it,
looking for.
Harry.
Yeah, let's talk about them.
Yeah. So if we're going to hand it over to our kids, and we know most of them that don't want to, why? Because the parents, the existing families are control freaks. And their kids aren't good enough in their mind to take the reins. And so often the kids come in, they try and do it, and they've been running the business, but they don't get control for 10 years or more. They get frustrated and angry, and it creates a whole lot of tension in families. So there's an issue. And you touched on something a little earlier, Harry, which reminded me that our records show that 52% of business exits are unplanned. So that's through the death, disability, divorce, partnership disputes. They didn't plan it, and so they have to shut things down. That's 52%. It's more than half of business exits are unplanned. And
Wow, wow.
when they're
That's
unplanned,
shocking, yeah?
if it's unplanned, it means they leave the owners leave their family in a mess to deal with, clean up after them, and they've never run the business. They don't know what to do. The employees, if there's only one owner, the employees are left in the lurch because they don't know what's going on.
They're
It's
confused.
a mess. So we've got to
Or they
change,
sell it cheap.
or they run away. Yeah,
Or they sell it for peanuts. All their life work.
they have to, if it's an unplanned exit and if it's due to death, excuse me, then it just becomes, and if the business is heavily dependent on the owners, especially, it becomes a fire sale. The bankers, they try and liquidate they'll come in and they'll go, okay, so what do we got here? And if there's no tangible assets, there's nothing to sell. So it's just a case of voluntary administration and closing the business down, which it's like, after, as you say, after all that life's work, it's just tragic. And it's avoidable, Harry. We've got to change it. It's avoidable.
Absolutely, it's avoidable. Absolutely. I didn't know, number one, when I started my first business, that I this thing can be sold. I didn't know that. It was definitely. I mean, I think that at the beginning, some entrepreneurs, you see, we are solving a problem for ourselves. We make a little bit of money, and then we start to solve the problem for others, and there you go. We are in business, but that doesn't mean that we're gonna plan effectively, and definitely how to exit. You see, some of them, they are asking, why should I exit this business? I'm making a lot of money.
Yeah.
Why should I exit? But what we don't know is the following, Daryl. Yeah. Um,
Or they've got an
market
inflated
condition
idea.
market condition can change. COVID
Yeah.
can come. AI can come into the way. A competitor can come. So business is this utopia that the business without loss will last forever. It's not always like this. Anything
Business
can
is
happen.
risky.
It's a high risk. So you have to, when you are in business, right, and you open a business, it's always in your mind has to be this, like plan it effectively and sell it to the peak. You sell
Yeah.
it to the peak of the performance, and to the right qualified team or company that can expand this business, that make it more safe.
Yeah.
And you can be an advisor in your own business. You can have if you think that, oh my god, I built this business and I'm not going to be involved anymore, I don't want to do that. Okay, you sell it, you get an advisory board, you get a seat in the table, so you know about how your baby is doing. I understand that you all want to see how a baby is doing. Okay, fine, but you have to let it go. And people don't want to let go. People want to control. People want to be these. I think I describe it because of myself. I've been in both sides. Yeah. When I started my first business, I started this idea. Everybody need to listen to me. This is my business. I wear all the hats. And you know what? I was exhausted. So when I started to employ people and I developed the leadership, and I managed to tell our employees and our team members in Leeds when we find out when I had my employees that they were better than me at everything. They were
Yeah.
also so then because they're better than me at everything, they should be running this. They should be growing this business. What I'm here, they are all better than me at everything. So I empower them. They become leaders. When they arrive to the office and they tell me, Harry, we don't need you anymore. Go home. Try the world if you want. We can grow and run this company without you. So by accident, I came from egocentric. I don't trust anybody, and everybody had to do what I say. And I'm the big boss, and I'm the big deal. To surrender to that ego, encourage leadership, and I got rewarded amazingly for it. Actually, my team, my employees sent me home. They did fire me. They made me obsolete in my own business, which is something that, well, if I could say, if I want to sell it back then, it was, however, again, lack of knowledge. The business was in a peak. It was very good moment to sell, you know,
Yeah.
which I didn't do, which I didn't do. That's why we don't think about. We keep going on and on and on, and then more competition come. The business now is turning. We may sold over 5 million. That's completely different beast, you see, to deal with, and market change, whatever, and then you have to de-escalate, and you miss chance. And this happened. So it happened to me.
Yeah. Well, we never know when the peak is going to be. So the best scenario is keep your business exit ready. There's a whole lot of things that you need just in terms of the way you keep records, the way you run the business, the way you plan, who does what, the structures. There's a whole lot of things that you can do just to make the business exitable and attractive to be acquired. You don't have to be selling it, but if it's attractive to be acquired, sometimes someone will come
Yeah,
and
and
go,
you're hearing some offers. That's a good sign. If somebody's offering you something for your business, that's a good sign that you prepared it.
it's a
That you
good
prepare.
sign. But a lot of people are running around making offers because business owners are saying how good their business is. Then, when they come in and they have a look and they sort of look under the covers of the business, they realize there's just too risky for them because it's not exit ready. So they just move away and they'll move on to the next opportunity and they go, look, the timing's just not right for us. And in the UK, it's all very polite and no one's actually saying to the business owner, your baby's ugly, it's too risky, there's no way I'm going to buy it. What they do say is, I'm sorry, it's just the timing's not right.
Oh, definitely in UK. Forget about in UK. No one will tell you like it is. Is
Exactly.
I live in London, and you see that it's gonna be very difficult to people to tell you in black and white exactly what is going on. It's the
So
way that they are. It's a cultural thing. It's nothing
it's a
wrong.
cultural
That's how
thing,
they
and we
are.
need to acknowledge it, and it is the way it is. So unless we're up north and things are a little different in the north of England, which is great for an Aussie. So we need to get the business in exitable shape so that if someone does come and knock on the door, they're likely to proceed. Now, as an entrepreneur, we're talking about entrepreneurs earlier as opposed to business owners. Entrepreneurs are great at getting businesses from startup up to a certain level, and that I won't put a numerical value on it because it changes with industries, but they've got skill set. Their leadership style, their chaotic leadership style, is great to a point. After
Yes,
that,
zero
you
to
need
one, 0 to 10 million, around that mark.
yeah, 1 to 10, I would say is the
Yeah,
way.
1 to 10. Once
And
you 1 to 10, and you manage to pull this off, you need to look at yourself and the business.
it's a
And
different type of leadership then. It's a more of a
there you go.
that you need. And then, look, you can come in a PE company. If you build the right sort of business, a PE company can come in and you can use their money to scale and grow the business to the next level. And they, depending on what your arrangements are, they can provide people or find people to supplement your management team. You can either stay involved, you can stay as the leader of the business and keep driving it to the next level, but they'll surround you with a corporate leadership teams such as full-time CFOs and marketing directors and information officers. The sort of people that you need, the team that you need to scale it up to the next level, which is different to your entrepreneurial skill. And then at some level, the entrepreneur will back out and go find a smaller business to crank up again.
Yeah. However, there are something that let's talk about the business because you describe business that they are not sellable, and there are a lot of business out there in UK and all over the world that with a gradual process can make the transition from not sellable to sellable. However, a new roles, new skill has to be taken in place, and sometimes is stuff from the owners, from the CEO, that they are maybe uh, good business operators, but in order to get a sellable business, you have to develop leadership skills. You have to become a leader yourself, and you have to empower leadership in your organization, and you have to release control. And this is something that I found it very rewarding for me in my business. When I decided, I'm thinking, well, if all the employees are better than me at everything they do, why little by little, gradually, I start to release the control of the decision making process, right? That Harry, like I put a sign in my office that say, well, if you have a problem and you come to us, Harry, come with three solutions. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so effectively, I was out of survival also because they were all coming to me to ask me everything. I cannot focus. You want to ask me about sales? You want to talk about marketing? You're gonna talk. I'm like, guys, I cannot do anything like this. You drive me crazy. So I put I put a sign say, if you have a problem, you wanna come talk to me. Bring two, three solutions. So that they start to do this. And what happened is when they came, I thought, okay, out of these three solutions, which one do you prefer? Because this is your area of expertise. Which one you wanna? And they say, okay, I choose this one. I say, look, go implement it. If it works well, if it doesn't, we try the other one. That's it. This is it. This. There is nothing else than I. This is exactly what I will do. I will choose one, and if it works well, if it doesn't, it doesn't. So why I have to choose? You can choose because at the end you came with the solutions, right?
Yeah.
So little by little, I started to release control and the power to decision making. Therefore, they reached to a point that the whole company it developed their own life. It become their own entity. It become their own human being taking the decisions and growing and this, and they were meeting themselves and everything. And I just have a general manager, and Eva was calling me to go to the office once a week, sometimes once a month, to inform me, to give me, to tell me what they had done. I said, look, we acquired this more property. This is this. This is this. This is the money we're making. We are planning to do this. Blah blah. What do you think we could do? So she was actually meeting me just to inform me, to give me information how the business was doing. But I had to give up a lot. I had to release this. Everybody had to do what I say to empower and develop leadership. So in order for you to attract leaders to your organization, to turn your employees in leaders, you have to become a leader yourself. And I think that this is the biggest challenge in the non-sellable business, that the owner is stuck in this process. So what advice or how can you help these owners to let it go, to surrender that ego, to surrender that. I mean, we're not gonna say surrender because all entrepreneurs we do have ego. We think that we can do better. That's why we become entrepreneurs in the first place. But to manage that ego, to surrender, okay, this ego is very good. It's your driving force to you start and grow the business, give you confidence. However, to make it sellable, you do have to surrender and you have to empower, you have to become a leader and you have to empower leadership in your organization. And this is where I think that is a problem. So how can you help these people, Daryl?
Good. Harry, I think there's two things that we can explore here. I think there's two layers to sellability, or perhaps three layers. The first layer is it's not sellable. There's no way anyone's going to buy it. There's nothing of value there.
And that's the truth. And that's the truth. Black and white.
It's a job. Why would I pay for your job? Would you buy your business? Is the question. The next layer is
You're right. You're right in this one. No all business are sellable because they're jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
There is no way that you can expand, that you can leverage, that you can grow that thing. Yeah.
They've taken it as far as they can, and it's wholly dependent on them and their daily involvement. The next layer, I think, is a business that's sellable, but with lots of conditions attached. And these are the ones where you have to work an earnout because the business depends on you. You've got it to a stage where it's producing good revenue. You've got a number of people in the team that are supporting you and getting things done, but the business is still pretty dependent on you. You can have a business that's sellable, but someone might go, look, I want to buy the business from you, Harry, but I need you to stay with the business for the
Mm-hmm.
next 3 years to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that those projections
To
are
hand over
realized.
exactly.
And it's called an earn-out arrangement, and it's highly risky for the owners, and you won't get anywhere near as much money as you're hoping or you think you're going to get if you have to work an earn-out. So there's that halfway house. It's purgatory, it's painful, and most business owners never complete the earn-outs.
Yeah.
Sad fact to life. The third layer is where you've got a business that's sellable on your terms, is the way I like to frame it up. Why? Because you've addressed the revenue. You've got lots of contract, you've got lots of subscription, you've got predictable, consistent revenue growth, you've got systemized, you've got a management team that are doing things on their own. The business is sellable, and the ownership can change hands without you having to be involved. Now, that's a business that's highly attractive to an owner and maybe even a strategic acquirer, and they'll pay a premium for the right business that is really servicing a niche well and doing some special things in the marketplace. That's the ultimate, that's the holy grail that everyone's going for, a strategic exit. And it's where you don't have to be involved. You may have some delayed payments, you may have some warranties you need to put in place, but you don't necessarily have to be involved in working next to the business. Look, you may have to do a couple of months handover, but that's nothing in the grand scheme of things to get the most from your life's work. So they're the three layers we want to aim towards. I think getting a revenue base, a consistent revenue base, is the biggest metric of that, of having a business that is actually sellable. The higher the
Mm-hmm.
revenue, the less risk it is, because to
Mm-hmm.
generate more revenue, you need
Mm-hmm.
more
Mm-hmm.
infrastructure around it to keep it moving. It becomes a beast, and it has its own momentum and inertia to keep moving. That's what you want to do. The more the business, we've touched it several times, the more the business is run on memory, on your memory as the owner, the less it's worth.
One of the
That's
podcast guests to this very same show, he has 40 exits, 40 times he exits, and he described, and he was saying, Harry, leave always a mid on the bone for the next
absolutely
person. Don't be so greedy that you want to sell the business and there is no meat on the bone to the for the next person. So make sure that you, the guy was exited always for over the million. He did it 40 times in so many different industries, and he described that
100%.
acquire it, grow it, but when you want to sell it, make sure that there is meat on the bone for the next person. Correct?
And importantly, you need to know what that meat is so that when buyers are shopping around, you go, look, here's the next phase. Here's, if you buy my business, here's what you can do with it. And with your resources and your distribution channels and your sales team and adding this
Mm-hmm.
product to
Mm-hmm.
your mix, here's what you can do. And here's the product development left with your funding that you can do. You show them that, they're less likely to try and screw you down. Well, they'll always try, but yeah, absolutely agree with that. Yeah,
Now,
leave
this podcast guest, he have a specific mindset. He knew, yeah, he was acquiring businesses, but as soon as he was taking them, he knew that he's gonna exit. That he's gonna be there involved 2 to 3 years, and he changed the processes, create the systems, made the whole thing work by itself. I mean, had the blueprint already in place,
yeah.
that so he didn't marry to any of those his businesses. He just was taking them exactly for that purpose, which is, I think, is the most financial and sustainable way, because this is what he was good at. He's so good that he did it 40 times, you see, and he understand that he was good at this thing, to take it, to buy it, to get it from zero to one, 0 to 5 million, and then leave meat on the bone and find somewhere to take care of it. So whether
Beautiful thing.
entrepreneurs, sometimes we don't have that mindset. We don't have this. Okay, this is what we are good at. We're gonna start it. because somehow, like I said, people think, oh, what else I'm gonna do? Well, if you exit your business and if you're bored and you know what to do, come and talk to me. I can give you plenty. You can
There's
go
no
and speak all over the world like I'm doing. You can do coaching, you can do training, you can have, and if you're bored, you can open one more business in something different. But what it makes sense is to sell it at the peak. This is what makes financial sense. You don't need to be there for the whole cycle of the business. The business start, grow, make millions, and then market change, whatever. You don't know how to handle it, and because you don't have experience, and then the whole thing goes down, and you have to de-escalate and eventually keep it really tiny because that's it. This, like I said before, I'm a living experience. This happened to me, so I don't want to any of our listeners happen this thing because it's a curve, and it's not because now you can say no, Harry, but you see the owner of Facebook, the owner of Google, these people start with nothing, and now they went to billionaires and they're running billion. Well, let me tell you that this is only the stories that you need, and this is very rare
yeah.
that a founder can be there in the whole. There is only few, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, and things like that you see that they started from nothing and they own the big shot company. It's not usually how it works. What it usually works is that you identify what you're good at and you make good financial decisions, and you build it, you sell it at the peak, keep some shares of that business, get advisory board or whatever, and you can be in your business and grow, but let the people that specialize, take over, right?
Absolutely. And there's no shortage of opportunities out there for people who have got the creative and can see through the gaps in the marketplace. There's always something happening.
Yeah, and there is nothing more beautiful that can happen to you that's the reward for you for what you did. You see, to sell it and to exit it. You don't have to be there. You don't have to work on your business your whole life. You don't want to. And if your dream is to pass, the other day, other person in this podcast, you see, he sold his business to his general manager, and he told me, Harry, you won't believe I sold my business to my general manager, and my general manager is growing it
Growing it.
at the fastest pace that I was. The guy was shocked. And he told me, Harry, because I own several businesses, so I'm always paying attention to several businesses. I was not that focused in that business in particular. I was running, parallel to other businesses. But you know what? I sold to my general manager, and because he's only focusing this and he's growing the thing to a pace that I didn't even know that was possible. And he created that business. He was his general manager who bought it from him. So more and more we see that sometimes some people, again, you worry from 0 to 1, 0 to 10 million, and maybe that's your thing. This is what you're good at. This is what you enjoy. This is what you have fun. And because let me tell you, it's not the same from 0 to 1. Completely different is 0 to 10. And if you like 0 to 1 and 0 to 10, go to 10 to 100 million. Maybe you're not going to like it to be in that kind of base
I think
because the whole base changed completely. You have culture, you have leadership, you have under employees, you have lawyers, you have compliance, you have you name it, right? It's not the first 10, 15 people, let's do it. We don't sleep, and we're gonna make this product to succeed, and we're gonna change the world. This dynamic change completely when you have 200, 300 employees, because they're not gonna, they will go and sleep. They will stay overnight following your vision, correct?
correct. And you touched on something interesting there, Harry, around you talked about the 1 to 10. What I've observed is that businesses, they definitely go through cycles, and as they go through the stages, there are different things that they need to do to take them to the next stage. And what I've learned is every time you triple your business in size is when you need to rebuild and renew all of your infrastructure. So
100%.
0 to 100, 100 to 300, 300 to a mil, and then 1 mil to 3 mil, 3 mil to 10 mil. And every time you triple the size is when you need to, if it's a sales system, you'll move from a spreadsheet to a CRM system to an enterprise system. If it's your sales process, your whatever your systemization, your documentation, it'll all change and it will evolve. But you need to rebuild it. Your website is another example. You need to rebuild it every time you triple in size. So if you start thinking about that as a business owner and you go, oh, look, I'm coming up to 10 mil, or I'm coming up to 3 mil, or even 300. Just think, well, okay, well, at that 300, I'm probably going to have to invest in more resources. And, it'll go through a period where I'm not as profitable. And then once I've made that investment, then I'll go through another period of profitable growth. Then I'll have another investment period, another period of profitable growth.
Again, you need to be willing to unlearn to learn again. Because the process changed completely, yeah, and the same way that you think 0 to 1 is completely exactly. Even you said 0 to 300,000, you even need to change your thinking from 300,000 to a million, and every time you triple, you have to unlearn and learn again. And this process, maybe the new thing you learn that you have to implement, which is what you have to do. Maybe you don't enjoy this. Maybe you are not good at. Maybe you are more comfortable in the other space 0 to 1, which is something that that you already achieved, and you can repeat this process again and again. So it depends of the owner, of the CEO. You can get in love with your business, but you have to be willing to do what it takes, which is learn and unlearn, build the system, because otherwise you can end up exactly like that is describing. If you don't unlearn and learn, you're gonna end up with something that your business is not sellable. Right?
And a lot of business owners need a lot of encouragement, shall we say, to unlearn old behaviors. And so we need to give them a really powerful reason to unlearn the old behavior and learn a new one. So you've got to show them how much their current behavior is costing them.
100%.
And, I found that a good way to help motivate them, shall we say.
So Daryll, if someone is in love with our conversation and they say, wow, I need help, I need to start to restructure my business, I think that I can sell it, but I need to do some preparation. Yeah, everybody listening out there. So how people can find you, how this process work?
The easiest way is, fortunately, I've got a really unique name. And if you have a look at my name on the screen there and put that into LinkedIn, you're going to find me. I'm the only one.
Daryll, you need to mention your name because there are some people listening in the car or in the radio. So can you mention it, please?
I'll add that. So it's Daryll Bates-Brownsword, and the best website to find me is successionplus.co.uk. And that's where you'll find me. When you get onto the website of successionplus.co.uk, you're going to find on our homepage, we've got a tool called the Business Sellability Score. If you do that score, it'll take you less than 4 minutes. There's 30 questions to answer, really quick 30 questions. It will take you less than 4 minutes if you know your business, and you'll get an instant indication of how sellable your business is. And then, if you sign up, you give us your details for that. We'll give you some resources to help you improve the sellability of your business.
And with that note, see you everyone on our next episode of Unstoppable, how brave entrepreneurs like Daryll break that wall and achieve the first million. Bye for now.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.